The massive silver ship hung in orbit above the blue planet. Many in the High Council of Zalara thought this mission was foolish, but Commander Celia knew better. She stared at the view screen, her four eyes blinking in sequence as she studied the world below. Earth. The humans had been transmitting signals into space for centuries, yet no official contact had been made. The Zalaran Empire had watched from afar as the primitive species fought their wars, developed their technology, and slowly reached for the stars. Most council members believed humans were too violent, too unpredictable to join the Galactic Alliance. Celia disagreed. She had studied human history for decades, fascinated by their resilience and creativity. Now, as their ship prepared for first contact, she felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. 3 short tones indicated that her second-in-command had entered the bridge. "Kayla, are the diplomatic preparations complete?" Celia asked without turning. The human woman stepped forward, her brown skin contrasting with the pale blue of the Zalaran crew. Kayla Mason was one of only 5 humans aboard trained as cultural ambassadors to ease first contact. "Yes, Commander Celia. Everything is ready. The diplomatic team can shuttle down whenever you give the order." Celia turned to face the human female. Her large oval eyes studied Kayla's face, trying to read the subtle emotional cues humans displayed through their strangely flat features. "You seem troubled, Kayla. Tell me what worries you." Kayla hesitated. 20 years she had lived among the Zalarans since they had secretly made contact with her research vessel beyond Mars. Now, at age 45, she was about to reveal the existence of alien life to her home planet. "It's complicated, Commander. I worry how my people will react. Some will welcome you with open arms. Others will respond with fear or even hostility." Celia made a chirping sound that served as Zelaran laughter. "Precisely why we chose to bring humans into our ranks first. Kayla, your insight has been invaluable. Your species' adaptability is why we believe you belong in the Alliance." The door to the bridge slid open, and Lisa Chen, the chief xenobiologist, entered. She carried a datapad, her red hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Commander, the planetary scan results are complete. I've found something concerning." "What is it?" Lisa Celia asked. "The humans have been experimenting with dimensional physics. They don't understand the dangers. Their research facility, in a place called New Mexico, has created fluctuations that could tear open the barrier between dimensions." Celia felt her chest tighten. The void creatures. The ancient enemy that had nearly destroyed Zelaran civilization 10,000 years ago. Could the humans accidentally release them? How long, Lisa? Based on their current experiments, 3 days, maybe 4, before they create a breach. Kayla looked between them. "What does this mean?" "It means," Celia said grimly, "that first contact just became a rescue mission. If that breach opens, your planet will face extinction." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. "Prepare the emergency protocol," Celia ordered. Turning to her navigation officer, "Contact the council and inform them of the situation. Request additional ships, but tell them we cannot wait for their arrival." Talia, the communications officer, a young Zalaran with unusually bright turquoise skin, nodded and began transmitting the message. "We have no choice but to intervene." Celia continued, pacing the bridge, her long fingers tapping against her thigh in a nervous rhythm. "What about the research facility, Lisa? Is it isolated?" Lisa checked her datapad, located near a small human settlement about 80 kilometers from a larger city. Mostly desert terrain. Approximately 300 personnel at the facility itself. Celia nodded. "Calculate the minimum radius of destruction if the breach fully opens." Lisa entered commands into her console, her expression grim. "Based on the energy readings, potential damage radius of 5,000 kilometers within the first hour. Entire planetary contamination within 72 hours. Kayla gasped. "That would kill millions, billions, eventually." Celia corrected, her voice soft. "I have seen what the void creatures do to inhabited worlds. Nothing survives. Then we better make sure that doesn't happen," Kayla said, her jaw set in determination. Celia admired the humans' resolve, despite the terrifying news. Such strength in such a fragile form. We need a small team. Your world governments will panic if we arrive with a large force. We must approach discreetly. Lisa raised a hand. What if their hostile commander humans are known to attack what they don't understand? We will take precautions, Celia assured her, but we cannot wait for diplomatic channels. The stakes are too high. Kayla moved to a console and pulled up images of Earth governments, their power structures, their military capabilities. A complicated planet with no unified leadership. Reaching consensus. Would take too long. We should contact the facility directly. Kayla suggested they might listen to scientific evidence, or they might see us as a threat and escalate their experiments. Talia countered. No. Celia decided, we make contact with their military. First, the people who would be responsible for defending against a threat. Their chain of command is more direct. Kayla nodded. That makes sense. The United States military controls the facility. They have protocols for unusual situations, though I doubt. First contact with aliens is in their handbook. Celia turned to her crew. 6 hours to prepare. We need the diplomatic shuttle readied with defensive capabilities only. No weapons that could be perceived as offensive. Bring translation matrices, atmospheric, adapters and evidence of the dimensional breach as the crew dispersed to their tasks. Celia gazed once more at the view screen. The blue planet rotated slowly beneath them. So much water, so much life. She had studied this world for most of her career. Finding humans had been the highlight of Zelleran exploration. Their art, their music, their endless capacity to imagine new possibilities. Now it all hung in the balance because of human curiosity. The very trait that made them special might lead to their extinction. Kayla remained on the bridge, standing beside Celia. We will succeed. Commander Celia turned to her human friend. I hope you are right, Kayla, for all our sakes. 2 hours later, the diplomatic shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, carrying Celia, Kayla, Lisa, and 3 other Zelleran officers. The plan had changed from diplomatic greeting to emergency intervention. They needed to reach the research facility and shut down the experiments before disaster struck. As they approached the landing coordinates, a warning alarm blared through the shuttle. Multiple aircraft approaching, Commander. The pilot called. We are being tracked by what appears to be primitive missile guidance systems. So much for a quiet arrival, Kayla muttered. Let me handle this. She activated the communication system and began broadcasting on military frequencies. This is Ambassador Kayla Mason representing the Zelleran Alliance. We come in peace and request immediate communication with your leadership. This is an emergency situation that affects global security. Please respond. The silence stretched for almost a minute before a voice crackled through. This is General Patricia Winters, United States Space Defense Command. You are in restricted airspace. Identify your purpose and origin, or we will be forced to take defensive action. Kayla explained as simply as possible that they were representatives of an advanced alien civilization, coming to prevent a catastrophe. The general was skeptical but agreed to escort them to a secure facility rather than shooting them down. When the shuttle landed, they were surrounded by military vehicles and armed soldiers. Celia observed the primitive, projectile weapons with a mixture of amusement and concern. Such inefficient technology, yet in sufficient numbers, still dangerous. General Winters approached, flanked by security. She was a tall woman, with steely gray eyes and short blonde hair. Uniform displayed numerous decorations indicating high rank and experience. This better not be some elaborate hoax, Ambassador Mason. The general said, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of the Zellarans with their blue skin. 4 eyes, and elongated, limbs. Kayla stepped forward. I assure you, General, this is very real. Commander Celia represents the Zellaran Empire, a civilization thousands of years more advanced than Earth. They have been observing humanity for centuries, and you chose now to reveal yourselves, Winters asked suspiciously. We had no choice. Celia stepped forward, her translator converting her chirping language to English. We detected dimensional experiments at your research facility that could inadvertently tear open a breach to another reality. The creatures that dwell there would devastate your world. The general frowned. I need to make some calls. While the general consulted with her superiors, Lisa examined readings on her scanner. The dimensional fluctuations were growing, stronger. They had less time than originally calculated. Celia surveyed their surroundings. They had landed in a desert area with mountains visible in the distance. Human soldiers maintained a perimeter around the shuttle, their weapons ready. She could sense their fear mixed with curiosity. "Do you think they'll believe us, Talia?" whispered, standing close to Celia. "They must," Celia replied. "They have no choice." General Winters returned. Looking troubled, "I've spoken with my commanding officers. They want proof of your claims before granting access to a classified research facility." Lisa stepped forward, holding her scanner. "May I show you?" "Our sensors detected growing dimensional instability centered at coordinates that match your research facility." She projected a holographic image showing energy patterns spiraling around a central point, each spiral growing wider with each rotation. Winters stared at the projection. "This could be fabricated. What would we gain by fabricating this?" Kayla asked. "Ma, came in a small shuttle making ourselves vulnerable. We could have remained hidden if our intentions were hostile." The general considered this. "Your presence here is already causing panic in my chain of command. The president has been notified. She's convening an emergency meeting of national security advisors." "We don't have time for meetings," Celia said firmly. "The breach could open within hours, not days, as we first calculated. Your entire planet is at risk." A younger officer approached and whispered something to Winters. Her expression changed. "Well, it seems your story just got some credibility. The research facility has reported unexpected energy spikes in their dimensional gateway project. Equipment failures. Unexplained phenomena. One researcher has gone missing." Celia exchanged glances with Lisa. "It's already beginning, General. We need to get to that facility now." Kayla urged. "Every minute counts." Winters nodded. "Very well, you will be escorted under heavy guard. Any suspicious movements and my people will respond with force." "Are we clear?" "Crystal clear?" Kayla confirmed. They boarded military vehicles, Celia, Lisa, and Kayla in one, Talia and the other, Zellerans, in another. The convoy sped across the desert landscape toward distant mountains. Inside the vehicle, Winters studied the aliens with intense curiosity. "How long have you been watching us?" "Since your first radio transmissions," Celia answered. "Approximately 150 of your years. We maintain observation posts beyond your moon and—" "Kayla, how did you come to be with them?" "I was part of a deep space mission." Kayla explained. "My research vessel encountered a Zelleran scout ship near Mars. 20 years ago, the official story was that our ship was lost with all hands. The truth is, we were given a choice. Join the Zellaran observation team or return to Earth sworn to secrecy. Most of us chose to stay. The science, the knowledge they offered, was too compelling to refuse. And now you're back," Winters said. "Now we're back. Because despite the risks, the Zelleran Council believes humanity deserves a chance to join the wider galactic community." The general looked skeptical. "Most of my career has been spent preparing for potential hostile alien contact. Now you're here talking about dimensional monsters instead. The real monsters are rarely what you expect," General Celia said quietly. The convoy approached a checkpoint at the base of a mountain. Armed guards verified their credentials before allowing them to proceed through a massive gate. Built into the mountainside beyond the gate lay a sprawling complex, half built into the mountain, half extending out into the desert. The scale of the facility surprised even Celia. She had not expected humans to have committed such resources to dimensional research. A group of civilians in lab coats waited at the entrance. A woman with curly brown hair stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Olivia Wilson, Director of Project Gateway. Welcome to Quantum Research Station Alpha." She looked at the Zellarans with undisguised fascination. "I never thought I'd live to see this day." "The feeling is mutual," Dr. Celia replied. "We never thought we'd need to intervene so directly with your species." Dr. Wilson looked confused. "Intervene? Your experiments with dimensional physics have created a dangerous situation," Lisa explained. "We need to examine your gateway immediately." Wilson looked between the aliens and General Winters. Is this some kind of joke, Patricia? No joke, Olivia. The general sighed. These visitors claim your project is about to tear a hole in reality, and based on the anomalies you've been reporting, they might be right. Wilson paled. I think you'd better come with me. Dr. Wilson led them through a series of security checkpoints, each door requiring higher clearance than the last. The deeper they went into the facility, the stronger the strange energy readings became on Lisa's scanner. This is impossible, Lisa muttered, looking at her device. The readings suggest the barrier is already weakening. How could humans achieve this level of dimensional manipulation with such primitive technology? Maybe we're not as primitive as you think, Dr. Wilson said with a hint of pride. Maybe something is helping them, Talia suggested, her voice low. They reached a large observation room overlooking an enormous chamber. Below them, dozens of scientists and technicians worked around a massive circular platform. In the center stood a ring-shaped device nearly 20 meters in diameter. Cables and conduits connected it to banks of computers and power sources. The gateway, Wilson announced with evident pride. 3 years of work. The most advanced quantum physics project in human history. It's also the most dangerous, Celia said. We detected the dimensional disturbances from orbit. Your gateway is creating microfractures in the barrier between dimensions. Wilson frowned. Microfractures. We have detected unusual quantum phenomena, but nothing that suggests actual breaches. Because you don't know what to look for, Lisa explained. She showed her scanner to the human scientist. These energy signatures here and here, they indicate dimensional thinning. We Zolarans encountered similar patterns before the void. War the what? General Winters asked. 10,000 years ago. Celia explained our civilization nearly destroyed itself experimenting with dimensional physics. We opened a gateway to what we call the void, a realm of darkness, filled with entities that feed on organic life energy. They poured through the breach, consumed entire worlds. We fought a 1,000-year war to close the breaches and push the void creatures back. Wilson looked skeptical. This sounds like science fiction, and yet here we stand. Lisa countered, aliens warning you of the very real consequences of your experiments. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. What's happening? Winters demanded. Dr. Wilson rushed to a nearby console. Energy spike in the gateway, it's activating. But that's impossible. We haven't initiated the power sequence. The floor trembled beneath them. Through the observation window, they could see the ring beginning to glow with blue energy. Lightning-like discharges arced around its circumference. Shut it down. Celia ordered. We're trying, Wilson shouted as she typed frantically. The system isn't responding. Celia turned to Lisa. Go help them. Talia, come with me. The group split up, Lisa following Dr. Wilson to the control systems while Celia, Talia, Kayla, and General Winters rushed down to the chamber floor. The scientists below were evacuating, some running for exits, others desperately working at control stations. As they reached the chamber floor, the air felt heavy, charged with strange energy. The massive ring now pulsed with blue light. A humming sound grew louder, making conversation difficult. Celia approached the nearest control station where a young scientist worked frantically. What happened? Celia demanded. Don't know, the woman shouted over the noise. The gateway initiated its own power sequence. We've lost control. Kayla looked at the ring. The blue light at its center was beginning to swirl, creating a vortex-like effect. This is bad, isn't it? Very bad. Celia confirmed. We need to disable the power source. Where are the main power conduits? The scientist pointed to massive cables running from the floor to the base of the ring. The primary power junction is below, but cutting power now could cause a catastrophic collapse of the quantum field. Then we'll have to stabilize it first, Talia said. She pulled a small device from her belt and handed it to Celia. Phase inverter. It might help disrupt the forming connection. General Winters was coordinating the evacuation of the chamber, barking orders into a communication device. I want this facility locked down. No one in or out until we understand what's happening. The vortex in the center of the ring grew larger. The swirling blue energy began to darken at its core, changing from azure to indigo to a deep purple. "It's starting," Celia said grimly. "The breach is forming." A scientist who had remained at her station called out, detecting massive energy fluctuations. Readings off the scale. Celia approached the ring, studying, the phase inverter in her hand. "If I can disrupt the quantum harmonics at the right frequency, it might destabilize the connection." General Winters joined her. "What can we do? Pray your species has better luck than mine did," Celia replied. Then she raised her voice. "Keep everyone back at least 50 meters from the ring." The general nodded and began ordering people to retreat. Celia adjusted settings on the phase inverter. The device hummed in her hand. The ring was now vibrating visibly. The metal structure, straining against its supports. "Kayla, what are the human emergency protocols for this facility?" she asked. "Complete lockdown." Kayla answered. "Blast doors, sealing each section. Multiple redundant power systems. If the main grid fails, backup generators activate automatically. And if those fail, then emergency batteries, but those would only power essential systems. Not the gateway." Celia nodded. "Then we need to overload the system, force a complete power failure before the breach fully forms." Above, in the control room, Lisa and Dr. Wilson were examining the gateway systems. "This code," Lisa said, pointing to strings of symbols on the screen. "This isn't standard quantum physics notation." Wilson looked confused. "No, it's not. I didn't write this. This entire subroutine is unfamiliar. Who else had access to the system?" "All senior researchers. But this looks like nothing I've ever seen. The algorithms are incredibly complex." Lisa studied the code, her expression darkening. "This isn't human programming. This is void language, the void creatures. They communicate through mathematical patterns. This gateway has been compromised. The breach isn't accidental. It's deliberate." On the chamber floor, the vortex continued to grow. The purple darkness at its center deepened, becoming an absolute black. A cold wind began to blow from the gateway, carrying a smell like ozone and decay. Celia activated the phase inverter, aiming it at the base of the ring. Blue energy shot from the device, colliding with the power conduit. Sparks flew, but the gateway continued to function. "It's not working," Talia shouted. "The connection is too strong." A deep groaning sound emerged from the vortex. The black center pulsed like a heartbeat. The air temperature around them plummeted, frost forming on nearby equipment. "Something is coming through," Celia warned. "Back away, everyone." Now scientists fled the remaining workstations. General Winters drew her sidearm, though she surely knew it would be useless against what was coming in the control room. Lisa frantically worked to counter the alien code in the system. But every change she made was quickly reversed by some unseen force. Wilson watched in horror as her life's work transformed into something monstrous. "I don't understand. How could this happen?" "Not how," Lisa corrected. Who helped the void creatures access your systems? This level of infiltration would require direct interface. Someone or something on your side translated their mathematical language into your computer systems. Wilson's eyes widened. "Dr. Vance, he disappeared 3 days ago. After working a late shift alone, he was acting strange beforehand. Distant, troubled. From the observation window, they could see the situation deteriorating below. The black center of the vortex now filled most of the ring. Tendrils of darkness began to reach out from it, probing the air like searching fingers." Lisa hit her communication device. "Commander, we have a problem. The breach was deliberately created. Someone in the facility was helping them." Celia received the message as she backed away from the expanding portal. "Then we have no choice. Emergency Protocol 7. Acknowledged," Lisa replied. 7 confirmed. Kayla looked at Celia. "What is Protocol 7? Controlled destruction," Celia answered grimly. "Protocol 7. Kayla knew what that meant. "Destroy the facility to save the planet, General. This facility needs to be evacuated immediately." Celia commanded, "All personnel, all data, everything of value must go." Now General Winters needed no further convincing. She activated the emergency evacuation system and sirens blared throughout the complex. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill, repeat. This is not a drill. She announced over the facility. Wide communication system. Scientists and soldiers rushed toward exits. But evacuation would take time. Time they might not have. Kayla looked at the gateway. The dark tendrils reaching from the portal were growing longer, thicker. They moved with purpose, searching. The temperature continued to drop, their breath now visible in the air. What happens when the void creatures come through? Kayla asked. They feed, Celia said grimly. First on electrical energy, then on organic life. They absorb knowledge from those they consume. Growing stronger with each victim, a tendril of darkness suddenly whipped out from the portal, faster than seemed possible. It wrapped around a fleeing technician, dragging the screaming man toward the gateway. Celia activated her energy blade, a beam of blue light extending from her hand. She leapt forward with inhuman speed, slicing through the tendril. The technician fell to the ground, gasping but alive. The severed piece of darkness dissolved into mist. More tendrils shot out from the portal, reaching for prey. General, get your people out, Celia shouted. We will hold them back. Winters nodded and began coordinating the evacuation, helping the fallen technician to his feet. Talia pulled out her own energy blade. Kayla drew the weapon Celia had given her before they landed, unfamiliar but necessary. The three formed a defensive line between the portal and the retreating humans. Lisa and Dr. Wilson rushed into the chamber from the control room. We can't shut it down remotely. Lisa called. The system is completely compromised. Portal pulsed, the blackness expanding. A massive shadowy form began to take shape within the darkness. Something was coming through. Something large. We need to overload the power grid, Wilson said. The surge might destabilize the portal long enough to break the connection. How? Celia asked as she sliced through another reaching tendril. The primary reactor, Wilson explained. It's 3 levels down. If we can cause a feedback loop in the cooling system, it will trigger an automatic shutdown. But if the safety systems are compromised, like the gateway controls, Lisa countered, then we'll have approximately 15 minutes before catastrophic failure. Wilson finished. That should be enough time to evacuate the mountain. The shadowy form in the portal grew more defined, a massive body with countless appendages. Glowing points of light appeared within the darkness, like eyes opening, all looking outward. Hungry. It's a void. Sovereign. Celia whispered. The most dangerous of their kind. The creature pushed against the boundaries of the portal, stretching the opening wider. The ring structure groaned, metal bending under impossible forces. We need to move now. Celia decided. Lisa helped Dr. Wilson trigger the reactor overload. Talia, stay with them. Kayla and I will help with evacuation. As they separated, the chamber shook violently. Ceiling panels crashed down, equipment toppled. The void. Sovereign was forcing its way through, warping the physical space around the gateway. Lisa, Wilson, and Talia sprinted toward an emergency stairwell that led deeper into the facility, while Celia, Kayla, and General Winters continued helping people evacuate. The evacuation was nearly complete when a massive tendril shot from the portal, wrapping around supporting columns. The structure creaked, support beams bending. It's trying to bring down the chamber, Kayla realized, to trap us. Even as she spoke, more tendrils lashed out, wrapping around structural elements, pulling, tightening. The ceiling began to collapse in sections. Celia grabbed Kayla, pulling her away from falling debris. We need to reach the surface. They ran toward the exit, Winters just ahead of them, coordinating the final evacuation teams through her communication device. A support beam crashed down, blocking their path. Celia leapt over it with inhuman agility, then turned to help Kayla across the portal, now filled nearly the entire gateway ring. The void. Sovereign pushed further through its massive form, becoming more solid as it entered their dimension. Each movement causing tremors throughout the facility. 3 levels below, Lisa, Wilson, and Talia reached the primary reactor, a massive chamber filled with humming equipment. The heart of the facility. Wilson led them to the main control console. This is it, she said, typing commands into the system. If I can override the safety protocols and increase the reactor output while simultaneously disabling the cooling system, the console rejected her commands. Access. Denied security protocols. Active Lisa. Examined the system. These controls are also compromised. Just like the gateway, Wilson thought for a moment, there has to be a manual override, something that can't be controlled remotely. She looked around the chamber, her eyes settling on a series of large pipes along the far wall, the primary coolant lines. They carry liquid nitrogen to prevent the reactor core from overheating. If we could physically damage them, Talia drew her energy blade. One cut should do it. Wait, Lisa cautioned. Once those lines are breached, we will have minutes at most to reach the surface. The temperature in this chamber will rise to lethal levels almost immediately. Wilson nodded. I understand. The fate of the world is at stake. She looked at her hands, then at the facility she had helped build my life for billions. Fair trade. Before Lisa could stop her, Wilson sprinted toward the coolant pipes. On the upper levels, Celia, Kayla, and Winters were helping the last evacuees. The entire facility was shaking continuously. Now the Void Sovereign almost fully emerged from the portal, its body a writhing mass of darkness and eyes and grasping limbs. The temperature had dropped so low that ice was forming on walls and equipment. The emergency lights flickered and died, replaced by dim backup lighting. The evacuation alarms continued to wail. We need to reach the surface before Celia began. A massive explosion rocked the facility from below. The floor buckled, throwing them off their feet. Warning klaxons blared different. From the evacuation sirens' reactor containment breach, automated systems announced meltdown imminent. All personnel evacuate. 15 minutes to critical failure. They did it, Celia said, helping Kayla to her feet. Now we need to move. The corridors were chaos. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. Sprinklers activated in some sections, soaking them as they ran. The mountain itself seemed to groan as structural integrity failed. The void. Sovereign sensed the danger. A roar that was felt, rather than heard, echoed through the facility. Tendrils shot out in all directions, seeking escape, seeking victims. One massive appendage burst through a wall directly in their path. Winters fired her weapon at it, the bullets passing through the shadowy substance with little effect. Celia leapt forward, energy blade slicing through the darkness. The tendril recoiled, then regrouped, lunging at them again. Go! Celia shouted to Kayla and Winters. I'll hold it back. General, take her, Kayla ordered, pushing Winters. Toward the exit, I stay with Celia. The general hesitated, then nodded. Good luck, she said before continuing toward the surface with the last evacuees. Celia and Kayla fought side by side, their blades cutting through the darkness again and again. But, for each tendril they severed, two more appeared. The void. Sovereign was desperate now, seeking any means of escape. The entire mountain shook continuously, the reactor meltdown progressing faster than expected. The temperature was rising rapidly. Sweat pouring down their faces, whereas Lisa, Kayla gasped between attacks, and Talia. No response on communications, Celia said grimly. We can only hope they found another way out. A particularly large tendril crashed through the ceiling, wrapping around Kayla's leg. She cried out as it dragged her backward toward a gaping hole in the wall. Celia leapt forward, slicing through the darkness, freeing her friend. But the momentary distraction allowed another tendril to strike her from behind, throwing her against a wall. Her energy blade skittered across the floor. Kayla, Celia shouted. Get my blade, Kayla dove for the weapon as more tendrils filled the corridor. She grabbed the handle, activating it just as darkness enveloped her. She slashed wildly, the blue energy. Cutting through the blackness, Celia regained her feet, pulling a smaller backup blade from her belt. Together they fought through the mass of writhing shadows. 10 minutes to critical failure, the automated system announced. Temperature rising in reactor. Core evacuate immediately. We need to move. Celia said the reactor explosion will collapse the mountain and seal the breach. But we need to be outside the blast radius. They fought their way forward meter by meter, the corridors becoming increasingly unfamiliar as structural damage changed the layout of the facility. Twice they had to backtrack from collapsed sections seeking alternate routes. The air grew hotter, harder to breathe, the reactor meltdown progressing, heating the entire mountain. From within 5 minutes to critical failure. 5 minutes to critical failure. The automated voice echoed through crumbling corridors. Celia and Kayla ran through the maze of the dying facility. The Void Sovereign still pursuing, sending tendrils through walls and ceilings to block their path. They cut through the darkness again and again, their energy blades leaving trails of blue light in the air. There Kayla spotted a sign pointing to an emergency exit, a narrow passage leading upward. They sprinted toward it. The floor buckled beneath them, metal groaned. Pipes burst, sending steam hissing into the corridor. The entire facility was coming apart. 3 minutes to critical failure. The emergency exit led to a steep stairwell. Designed for evacuation during power failures, they climbed, the metal steps 2 at a time. The air growing hotter with each passing second. Behind them, shadows filled the stairwell. The Void Sovereign still hunting, still hungry. 2 minutes to critical failure. They reached a heavy blast door at the top of the stairs. Kayla punched the emergency release. The hydraulics hissed, but the door only opened halfway. The frame warped by structural damage. Celia pushed against it, straining with all her strength. The gap widened enough for a person to squeeze through. Celia ordered, pushing Kayla toward the opening. Kayla slipped through, finding herself in a small concrete bunker. Another door at the far end led outside. She could see daylight beyond the facility, beyond the mountain's safety. She turned back to help Celia, but the Zalaran commander was surrounded by darkness, tendrils wrapping around her limbs, dragging her back down the stairs. Celia, Kayla screamed. She reached through the gap, their fingers nearly touching. Go, Celia shouted again. The reactor. She thrust her energy blade through the gap. Kayla, take it, save yourself. 1 minute to critical failure. Kayla grabbed the blade, slashing at the tendrils holding Celia. The darkness recoiled momentarily. She reached through again, seizing Celia's wrist, pulling with all her strength. The Zalaran broke free from the shadows and squeezed through the gap just as more tendrils surged up the stairwell. They slammed the outer door shut and ran into the blinding desert sunlight. 30 seconds to critical failure. They sprinted away from the mountain facility, their lungs burning, their legs weak from exertion. Behind them, the ground began to shake. The mountain itself seemed to tremble. Military vehicles and personnel had established a perimeter nearly a kilometer. From the base, General Winters spotted them, waving them toward the safety zone. 10 seconds, 5. The explosion was unlike anything Kayla had ever experienced. A deep rumbling followed by a concussive wave that knocked them off their feet. The mountain collapsed inward as if being devoured from within. A massive cloud of dust and debris billowed outward. Soldiers pulled them behind armored vehicles as rocks and dirt rained down. The air filled with dust, making it difficult to breathe. Difficult to see. When the initial blast subsided, Kayla looked back. The research facility was gone. In its place, a massive crater smoking and broken, the dimensional portal buried under thousands of tons of rock. And Earth. Celia activated a scanner, checking for dimensional energy. Her shoulders sagged with relief. The breach is sealed. The connection is broken. General Winters approached her, uniform covered in dust. Any sign of your other team members? Celia checked her communications device. No response. She looked at the destroyed mountain, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of grief among her people. They may have been caught in the collapse. The general nodded. I understand. Sacrifices in the line of duty. She turned to coordinate the military response teams, setting up a perimeter around the crater, medical personnel treating the injured Lisa. Lisa, Kayla called. Suddenly, pointing, a figure emerged from the dust cloud, limping, supported by another Talia, their blue skin covered in gray dust, but alive. They had found another exit moments before the explosion, barely escaping the collapse. What about Dr. Wilson? Kayla asked. She stayed behind, Lisa said quietly. She manually triggered the coolant system failure, a hero by any definition. They watched as military helicopters circled the crater. Scientists and soldiers worked to secure the area, to ensure no trace of the dimensional technology remained. Hours later, as the sun began to set, they gathered on a ridge overlooking the devastation. Celia, Kayla, Lisa, and Talia. Their mission successful, though at great cost. What happens now? Kayla asked. Now, Celia replied. We begin again. First contact properly this time. She looked up at the darkening sky where the Zalaran ship orbited invisibly above. The High Council will want a full report. Our testimony may finally convince them that humans are worthy allies despite their impulsiveness, or because of it, Lisa added. She turned to look at Kayla. Without Dr. Wilson's quick thinking and sacrifice, we might have lost everything. Kayla nodded, her chest tight with emotion. My people will need guidance. Understanding what happened here. What nearly happened. The truth about the universe and its dangers. And its wonders, Celia corrected. A transport shuttle will arrive soon to take us back to the ship. But I believe we should return with proper diplomatic protocols this time to help humanity understand what they've encountered and to begin the process of bringing Earth into the Galactic Alliance. You think the Council will agree? Talia asked. After today they must. Celia said the humans have proven their worth, their courage, their determination to protect their world even at personal cost. These are values the Alliance was founded upon. In the distance, they could see military vehicles and personnel still working around the crater site, the first witnesses to a new era for humanity. As darkness fell, stars appeared in the sky. Kayla looked up at them with new understanding. Each point of light potentially, home to civilizations, technologies, cultures beyond human imagination, yet also to dangers beyond human comprehension. The universe is both more wondrous and more terrifying than my people ever realized. She said, as it should be. Celia replied, placing a hand on Kayla's shoulder. Growth comes from facing the unknown, from testing boundaries, from seeking knowledge despite the risks. A light appeared in the sky, growing brighter as it descended. The transport shuttle coming to retrieve them. Kayla watched. It approached, remembering the young researcher she had been 20 years ago, when first contact changed her life forever. Now she would help change the lives of everyone on Earth. Are you ready to make history again? Celia asked. Kayla smiled. I was born ready. 2 weeks later, Kayla stood beside Celia in the United Nations General Assembly, the room packed with world leaders, ambassadors, media. All eyes fixed on the blue-skinned visitors, distinguished representatives of Earth. Celia began, I bring greetings from the Zelaran Empire and the Galactic Alliance. A collective of 15 spacefaring civilizations united in peace and mutual advancement. The chamber was silent. Every person present aware of the historic significance of this moment. The incident in New Mexico has been contained, Celia continued, but it serves as both warning and opportunity. Your species stands at a crossroads. Technology that could destroy you or elevate you. The choice of which path to follow is yours, but you need not walk it alone. Kayla stepped forward, looking out at the representatives of her species. For 20 years I have lived among the Zelarans, learned their science, their history, their wisdom. Now I return to share that knowledge with you. All. Earth is ready to join the galactic community, to take our place among the stars. General Winters, now appointed as Earth's first defense liaison to the Zelaran delegation, watched from the front row. Her expression solemn but hopeful, Lisa and Talia stood with other Zelaran officials, each ready to begin the work of integration, technology sharing, cultural exchange, defense coordination. The road ahead would not be easy. Centuries of human conflict and division would not disappear overnight, but the shared knowledge that humanity was not alone in the universe, that greater threats and greater wonders existed beyond their atmosphere, that would change everything. Later that evening, Celia stood on the balcony of the diplomatic quarters, gazing at the New York skyline. Kayla joined her. The Council has approved the integration plan, Celia said. 5 years of guided development before full Alliance membership. Kayla nodded. A wise timeline. Not too fast, not too slow. Do you think they're ready? Celia asked. Your people are, They truly ready for what lies beyond their world? Kayla considered the question, watching the city lights below, the endless activity of human civilization. Ready or not, the universe has found us, she said, and humanity has never backed down from a challenge. Celia made her chirping laugh. The Void Sovereign would agree with that assessment. The two friends stood in companionable silence, watching the stars appear above the city lights, each knowing that the future of two civilizations now intertwined would depend on understanding, cooperation, and mutual growth. A new chapter in galactic history had begun, and humanity would write its pages with the same determination that had saved them from extinction. Its greatest strength had always been its ability to face the unknown with courage, and now that unknown had never been larger or more full of possibility.